Hey, what's up? I'm Mike.
And I'm Henry.
We're from Velocico, and recently RockShox released this brand new fork called the ZEB, 38mm stanchions. It's their all new enduro fork. If you want to learn everything that you need to know about this brand new RockShox ZEB, click this link right up here to check that video out, because we're not going to talk about everything that you need to know about the ZEB. In today's video, me and Henry are basically going to go over what we've learned on riding the ZEB for 3 weeks and what we like about the performance aspect. So we're really just going to touch on the bullet point from that other video and really just talk about how the ZEB rides.
Yeah, we've both been riding the fork for a few weeks now, almost a month, and it's been absolutely phenomenal. So we just want to kind of share our opinion on it.
Yeah, and I'm coming off of a Fox 36. That was the last fork that I've been riding and testing on my bike.
Yeah, I was off of a DVO Diamond and then a 36 before that.
Kind of the first point that we both noticed, just like the RockShox Lyric, basically the ZEB is the burlier, bigger brother of the RockShox Lyric. Same damper, it's that Charger 2.1 RC2, and if you've ridden the Lyric with that damper or the Pike Ultimate or anything with that fork, then you know that it's pretty set and forget.
Yeah, so the ZEB is super easy to set up. It's just high speed, low speed compression, and just one rebound circuit. So you kind of just set it up once, and it only took me maybe 1 or 2 rides to get really dialed feeling, and it's just been small adjustments since then.
Same.
So,
yeah, the compression with RockShox forks, if you're familiar with them, or if you're not, we'll let you know. But just every little click, you can easily tell the difference of what you're doing and adding compression and how it feels on the trail. So it does really only take a couple rides to set up RockShox forks, which is what I really like about them. Whereas like with my Fox 36 with the Grip 2 damper, it'll take about 2 weeks to set up.
And then also kind of the air chamber is a higher volume air chamber. So like half a PSI makes a huge difference in the fork feel.
Yeah. With the bigger stanchions, basically you have more area for room, which means for it to be supportive, just like it would, you know, to hit the same sag achievement that you would with like a Lyric, you need to run a lower PSI. So with the Lyric, I was running about 80. In here, I started at the recommended 52, and I went all the way down to 47 PSI, which is what I'm at now, in half PSI increments.
With the higher volume air chamber, you can run a lower PSI, and what that means is that you have a little bit better kind of off the top feel, so it has really good small bump sensitivity, while still remaining really nice and supportive in the middle section of its stroke.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm running 2 tokens, and I had 3, I went back to 2, you've got 1.
Yeah.
And bottoming out is not really an issue.
Yeah, it's not harsh at all.
The air spring is tuned to be super sensitive on small bumps, but also have awesome mid-stroke, which is what the newer RockShox forks are really well known for. And just riding higher in its travel, but still being sensitive. So like he said, running lower pressure in your fork means you're working against less air pressure to compress the fork, which means that on smaller bumps, it is more sensitive. It's just, I think it has better small bump sensitivity than the Lyric, and that's gonna be all the things working together. You know, less binding on the bushings, meaning less friction, and less pressure working against you and the fork and the trail means that it's just super sensitive on small bumps, which is just an immediate notice.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. So the ZEB is super confidence inspiring. You find yourself tiptoeing around things a lot less. It's not like you're trying to avoid like big holes in the trail anymore. You kind of just focus more on the trail and less on your bike.
And I kind of touched on that in the main video on how I feel like I'm not dancing around certain sections, and I'm more so just focusing on riding. And I do like the word that Henry used, composed.
Yeah.
Super composed.
Yeah, it's composed, and you can kind of point and shoot a little bit more. But it's still a super poppy, like kind of playful feeling fork. So you can kind of just pick it up and redirect it wherever it goes, but wherever you point it, it's just gonna go right through and just stay super nice and planted. So
yeah, in true RockShox just suspension feel fashion, it's playful, it's poppy, it's active, and you feel like the fork wants to move around, and that makes it super fun to ride. A little bit different than some other brands' forks feeling, yeah, it's just it's a super fun fork to smash through stuff and then, you know, fly out of it on the other end. The next point that we really wanted to touch base on, which is really the huge selling point of the ZEB, or what's so new about it, it's got 38mm stanchions, and what does that do is it makes the fork more stiff. Not only are the stanchions bigger and beefier than the Lyric, but also the chassis is a brand new ground up build from RockShox, so it's going to create more rigidity and more stiffness in all the right places is how we like to put it. It's not just a fork that's super duper stiff. With the ZEB, the main bit of stiffness which has been improved the most is torsional rigidity, so the resistance to twisting. So it's not just going to be, you know, riding a brick on the front of your bike.
It's like riders of any weight will benefit from this fork. It does not beat you up on long descents, and the weight difference from the Lyric is not that big.
It's like 200 grams or something.
But the performance difference is huge.
We always recommend like picking the parts that are best for how you ride, not based off of weight, because if you want a really light bike, your bike's going to be broken all the time. But if you want a bike that's like well purpose built for what you're doing with it, that's what we like to see.
Yeah, especially like for the Pacific Northwest or kind of rockier places like the Southwest or California. Just a great fork for that sort of more chunky terrain and a little bit more high speed terrain. So. And
then back to that increased rigidity and stiffness. What I've noticed about that is the torsional rigidity that's been added with this. When you're riding hard, going full speed, and you're hitting little corners that you're going to change your direction and kind of bounce out of, the fork is just more composed. It's more stable, smashing through stuff, turning, changing direction. It is super smooth. It retains that small bump sensitivity through really rough sections, which is what some other forks don't do. You can feel them bind a little bit and kind of struggle to get through some stuff.
It's also very instantly noticeable. Like, I was climbing up the trail on the way for my first ride on the ZEB, and I was super worried that I wouldn't be able to feel the difference, but like right away you feel the difference. I just could not wipe the smile off my face. It's like, it just does what I expect a fork to do, and it does it really well. So
that was like one of the things I put in the video, is like, holy crap, I could feel a difference. Like, I dropped in this trail up here, my first ride, and I just like kept overshooting jumps on purpose. And you can land and just ride away from it. It's super fun. And dive into corners like a little bit more late, jam on the brakes, and when you're turning, jamming on the brakes and you're really digging in with lots of traction, it would just like scoop through stuff, and it was really fun.
If you look at the ZEB, like right away, it's just a modern classic. The arch on it is super square edged and beefy, and it just looks really good. It's pretty understated, so it'll go with most bikes, and both colors are awesome, the slab gray and the shiny black. So,
you know, we've both got the slab grays, and it looks great on your matte green bike, and on my gloss black bike, it just, yeah, it's like he said, like modern classic. You can look at this fork, and I feel like 5 years from now, we're gonna be like, oh man, remember that ZEB? Those things were sweet. It just looks like a fork that has like its place in mountain bike history. It just has a really cool, unique look to it. Yeah, we're stoked on how RockShox did with the design. So Henry and I have agreed that we really like the ZEB. We're stoked on it, and this is just gonna be a great fork for anyone that's riding aggressively, riding an enduro bike that's got 160 millimeters of travel or more. It's just an easy choice of a set to forget fork. It is super plush on small bumps, so it's got awesome small bump sensitivity. It's very confidence inspiring, and it stays very composed. So if you feel like you are missing out on any of those taglines with the fork that you have right now, then we would highly recommend the RockShox ZEB.
Yeah.
So with all that said, if you would like to put one of these RockShox ZEBs on your bike, you can click this link right here and order one up with free shipping in the USA. And you can always call or email us if you have compatibility questions or any other questions on the RockShox ZEB or anything else mountain bike related. At this point in time, if you're watching this video, we literally probably have all of the RockShox ZEBs from the North American market. So if there's gonna be a place that you're gonna snag a ZEB from, it's probably gonna be us. So hit us up, we'll be stoked to sell you one.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Peace.